Welcome to Echoes of Faith, where stories of hope, grace, and redemption come to life. Each story is a journey of faith, a testament to the power of God's love, and a reminder that no one is ever too far from His grace. Miracle of Grace tells the touching story of a grieving father and son whose lives are changed by a spirited Yorkie named Grace. Through love, faith, and resilience, they rediscover hope and healing. Pastor Thomas Polly gripped the edges of the pulpit, his knuckles pale against the polished oak. "And so we must remember," he said, his voice steady despite the ache beneath it, "that even in our darkest valleys, God walks beside us." His eyes drifted, as they always did, to the third pew on the left. The seat where Dottie had faithfully sat every Sunday remained empty. 6 months had passed since cancer claimed her life, yet he still expected to see her smile waiting for him there. The congregation listened quietly. They weren't simply hearing a sermon. They were watching a husband learning to serve God while carrying a broken heart. After the service, Thomas greeted each person with a warm handshake and a grateful smile. Members offered casseroles, hugs, and whispered prayers. His mother stood nearby with one hand resting on the shoulder of 6-year-old Thomas Jr. Mrs. Henderson, one of the church's oldest members, slowly knelt before the boy. "How are you today, buddy?" Thomas Jr. stared at the floor and gave a small shrug. Mrs. Henderson looked up at the pastor. She didn't have to say a word. That afternoon, after the last casserole had been tucked into the refrigerator and the church parking lot had emptied, Thomas found his son sitting alone on the back porch, staring into the yard where Dottie once tended her flowers. His mother joined him quietly. "He can't stay locked inside his grief forever," she said softly. "There's a birthday party next Saturday. Let me take him. He doesn't have to join in. Maybe it will do him good just to be around other children." The following Saturday, the backyard buzzed with laughter. Balloons danced in the breeze, children chased one another through the grass, and a brightly colored piñata swayed beneath an old oak tree. Thomas Jr. stood apart from the games with his hands buried in his pockets. His grandmother glanced toward him every few minutes while chatting with the other parents. One moment he was standing by the fence, the next, he was gone. "Thomas," she called, setting down her drink. "Thomas!" The adults spread across the yard, searching behind the garage, around the swing set, and beyond the flower beds. Then she found him. Beneath a broad maple tree, Thomas Jr. sat quietly in the grass beside a tiny Yorkshire Terrier. The little dog looked as if she'd been living on her own for weeks. Her coat was matted, her ribs showed beneath her fur, and she wore no collar. Neither of them moved, neither made a sound. They simply sat together, as though each understood the other's loneliness. Relief washed over his grandmother. His grandmother crouched beside him. "She likes you." Thomas Jr. nodded without looking away from the little dog. She was all alone. When Pastor Thomas arrived to pick them up, the Yorkie was still sitting beside the boy, as if she'd decided she'd already found her family. They took the little dog to a veterinary clinic. The technician passed a scanner over her back. "No microchip," she said with a sympathetic smile. "We'll keep a report on file in case someone comes looking." For the next month, they searched for her owner. They hung posters around the neighborhood, called nearby shelters, and checked with local veterinarians. No one claimed her. One evening, Thomas Jr. sat on the living room floor with the little Yorkie curled comfortably in his lap. He gently stroked her freshly groomed coat before looking up at his father. "Can she stay with us?" Thomas froze. His mother covered her mouth with one hand. Those were the first complete words the little boy had spoken in months. A smile broke through the pastor's weary face. "Yes," he whispered. "She can stay." Thomas Jr. looked down at the little dog. "Her name is Grace." Thomas and his mother nodded. From that day on, Grace rarely left his side. She followed Thomas Jr. from room to room, waited outside the bathroom door, chased leaves across the backyard, and curled beside him every night. Little by little, laughter returned to the house. Thomas Jr. smiled more often. He began talking at school again. Sometimes Pastor Thomas would hear his son reading stories aloud to Grace as though she understood every word. Watching them together was an answer to his prayers. One warm Thursday afternoon, Thomas's mother took Thomas Jr. and Grace for their usual walk through the neighborhood park. Grace zigzagged happily across the path, chasing leaves that skipped along in the breeze, while Thomas Jr. laughed and tried to keep up with her. They had almost reached the footbridge when a man hurried toward them. Before either of them realized what was happening, he grabbed the leash. Grace let out a frightened yelp as the startled Yorkie was lifted into his arms. "Hey!" Thomas's mother shouted, reaching for the man. He shoved her backward, sending her stumbling onto the grass. Thomas Jr. stood frozen. "Grace!" he cried. "Grandma!" Grace twisted in the man's arms, barking desperately as he disappeared between the trees. For several long seconds, neither grandmother nor grandson moved. Then Thomas Jr. broke into tears and ran to his grandmother as a passerby hurried over to help and call the police. Pastor Thomas rushed to the park as soon as he received the call, but Grace was nowhere to be found. The house was quiet once again. Grace's little bed remained untouched in the corner. Her toys stayed scattered across the floor, exactly where she'd left them. Thomas Jr. withdrew into himself, speaking only when necessary. Pastor Thomas searched everywhere. He filed a police report, posted a reward, visited shelters, and drove countless streets hoping to catch sight of a tiny Yorkie. Each night, after his son had gone to bed, he sat alone in his study. 3 days passed. On the third night, after Thomas Jr. had gone to bed, Pastor Thomas sat alone in his study. "Lord," he prayed softly, "he's already lost his mother. Please bring Grace home safely." On Sunday evening, the doorbell rang. Thomas opened the front door to find a police officer standing on the porch. The officer smiled but said nothing. Then came a familiar bark. Grace sprang from the officer's arms like a tiny burst of joy. "Grace!" Thomas Jr. dropped to his knees as the little Yorkie raced into his embrace, covering his face with happy kisses while her tail wagged so hard her whole body shook. The boy held her tightly and began to cry. Not the quiet tears he had hidden for months. These came freely as relief washed over him. Pastor Thomas knelt beside his son, resting a hand on his shoulder before looking up at the officer. "Thank you," he said as his eyes misted. "We received an anonymous tip," the officer replied. "A man tried to sell her. She's where she belongs now." That evening, Grace fell asleep, curled against Thomas Jr.'s chest, her tiny heartbeat steady beneath his hand. Standing quietly in the doorway, Pastor Thomas smiled. He still missed Dottie every single day. He didn't understand why she had been taken so soon. But as he watched his son sleeping peacefully with Grace nestled beside him, he was reminded that God often sends comfort in unexpected ways. Sometimes it arrives not with great fanfare, but on 4 small paws carrying a gift of healing called grace. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Echoes of Faith. Until next time, may God bless you, and thank you for listening.
Thank you for joining us on this journey. Remember, no matter what fires we face, faith will always carry us through. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to leave a comment. Subscribe for more stories that inspire and uplift. This is Echoes of Faith, where every story brings hope. If today's story moved you, be sure to discover more heartfelt journeys in the Echoes of Faith series and uplift your spirit. Don't miss out on the next chapter. There's always more to uncover.